All right, you ready? One person, okay, I'll take it. So my wife and I, about a month ago, we went on a little weekend getaway. It was like 3 hours away somewhere. There's a cabin in the woods out in Pennsylvania somewhere. Fought the way there. Isn't that great? You ever have a good car fight with your spouse? Car fights, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And I actually was looking at the clock. It was like a full-on hour. I was like, this is a good fight. This is really good. So we kind of worked things out. Went on a really cool hike while we were there. It was like 2.5 miles out, 2.5 miles back. So it was like a 5-mile hike, and there was this really cool waterfall that was down in this ravine. And like somebody had tied ropes to trees to help you get down there, like climbing down like a cliff. And my wife actually went with me. She's a pretty cool person. It was surprising that we made it back up. But it was just all around really cool weekend. So we're driving home. And I am in the left lane. And if you don't know, the left lane is for when you're passing cars in the right lane. And if you don't know that, this story is about you. Okay? So I'm in the left lane and I am going, and I come up behind somebody, which is a little annoying if you're in the left lane, right? You just want to keep going. So you come behind somebody. All right, so I had to slow down. There were 2 cars in front of us. There was a little 3-car convoy in front of me. Now they were passing somebody. It's like, okay. Now, but the annoying part about it was they were going like 1 or 2 miles per hour faster. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so technically you're passing them. But it was just, I'm like, okay. So we get by that person, and I thought, surely you're going to get over. But they didn't. And I was like, okay, there's another car. Maybe you want to get past that one. A little selfish, but okay. And they went by that one, and they still didn't go over. So I'm like, all right, I'm a pastor. I will wait patiently for the next 100 miles. You go the speed. No, I got over in the right lane. And I put the pedal to the floor of my 7-year-old Honda Odyssey, okay? And I'm going, and I passed the first one, and there's like a semi-truck in the right lane that's like rapidly approaching as I'm trying to pass them. I passed the second one, and then I get up next to that third one. I'm just past them, bumper just in front of their bumper. And I had a choice in that moment. Do I try it, or do I have to back off? And I didn't. I hit the brakes. And you're probably like, because it was too dangerous? No, because I didn't want to fight with my wife on the way home. She would have hated that. So I hit the brakes, and they're all going by. The person in the second car was like looking at me. I'm like, all right. So it transforms from a drive home to now I'm like on a mission. It's like a vendetta. So I back over behind them, eye twitching, gripping the steering wheel. My wife's asking me if I'm okay. And I'm looking for a gap now on the right side because I'm like, you're never leaving the left lane. That's fine. And it's 3 cars. Why is it 3 cars? Like, why is the second person not trying to paddle? I don't understand. They must be like all going to the same place. So I'm looking for a spot. I find one, gun it again. 1, 2, 3, got in front of them. That's way more satisfying than it should be, right? And then, if you do something like that, now you have to go faster than you're even comfortable going because you have to get further ahead of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird to stay right in front. So I took off. And the whole time I'm like looking in my rearview mirror, I want to see what happens. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I know, I have a problem. So I'm watching, and eventually like a semi-truck was passing another semi-truck, and they got stuck behind them. I'm like, there's justice, praise Jesus, this is good. You deserve that. So it was a great ending to that story. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Because you have a road rage problem, Pastor. Yes, okay, but the other reason, why did I do that? Here's why. I believe that putting ourselves first is the most natural thing that we do. Putting ourselves first is the most natural thing that we do. I want to be first. I want to be first on the highway, and I know that doesn't make any sense because I'm in front of you, then there's another person, but I just want to be first. It comes really naturally to me. And if I may, I think it comes naturally to all of us. You might not have the road rage on the highway problem, but it is downhill for us. It's the easiest thing that we do to put ourselves first. It's just natural. And here's my evidence, 2 exhibits. Exhibit A, have you ever met a 2-year-old, right? You don't have to train a 2-year-old to put themselves first, right? That just happens. Matter of fact, you spend about 18 years trying to convince them to not put themselves first, right? Like that's just naturally built into the DNA, put yourself first. Now, you might be sitting there if you're still not convinced, like, I don't know. I'm a pretty selfless person. I'm not a 2-year-old anymore. I get it. Exhibit B. You're in a group photo. You look at the photo. Who's the first person you look for? Right? And then, how are you grading whether this is a good picture or not? Right? Everybody else's eyes are closed. They all have spinach in their teeth. But if you look good, you're like, we should post this thing. This is a great picture, right? You do. Like, it might not be to that exaggeration. But again, it's just so easy. It comes so naturally for us to put ourselves first. I hope you agree with that. I'm not saying you always give in to it, but it is easy to put yourself first. And here's the problem with that. The number one relational killer, number one killer of all your relationships is selfishness. It is. That's top of the top. I'm sure you could sit here and think of a bunch of other ways that relationships can die or decay. But my guess is that if you come up with a list of those things, that they are either not as bad as selfishness or they find their roots in selfishness. That it is the number one relational killer. Now you see the trouble we're in then, right? Because if it's very natural for me to put myself first, and then also at the same time, that is the thing that's going to cause the most trouble in my relationships, that's really not good. We're going to be in all kinds of tension all the time. Now I hope, at least on some level, there's some kind of comfort in that, because if you're sitting here going, man, relationships are hard, I want to say, yeah, they are. We're all in the same boat there, that relationships constantly require me to fight against my instinct to put myself first, and that's really difficult, really difficult. So what do we do with that? What do we do with the idea that it's natural to put yourself first, and selfishness is the thing that's going to cause us the most trouble in all our relationships? So we're going to look at some verses today. Verses about relationships. One of these verses, just want to warn you ahead of time, it's going to take us a minute to get to it, but one of these verses is controversial. But I think as we look at it in the context, we will find that the ideas here are both less radical than most people think and way, way more radical than most people think. So hopefully you'll see that as we get there. All right, Kelly, so here's where we are. We're in Ephesians chapter 5, but where we start matters. So there's this whole section about relationships in the book of Ephesians, but we're going to start in chapter 5, verse 21. That's where it starts. This whole section starts in verse 21. It's important that you know that. A lot of people start in 22, but that's not where you start. You're supposed to start in 21, okay? Don't skip ahead. This is more fun if you just let me lead you through this, okay? And if you have the Bible memorized, awesome. You know where I'm going. So here's verse 21. Ready? And further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So this is the heading here. Submit to one another. He's talking to anybody who's a follower of Jesus. Hey, submit to one another. And then he says, why? Out of reverence for Jesus. That's a huge idea right there, summed up in one little sentence, isn't it? And let's be honest. Let's not do the church thing, because we could be the church people, I guess. That's what we're supposed to do. Yes. But let's be real. We read this verse. That's not fun, right? That word, submit, is that a word that's not a word we like, right? That's how you lose a UFC fight, isn't it? Like this word has negative connotation. We're Americans, right? Submit, no thank you, King George, right? You can find your tea in the harbor. Like we don't submit. We don't do that here. Submit is synonymous for losing. It's like a cuss word, right? It's like the other S word, submit. We just don't like that word. Especially, since putting ourselves first is the most natural thing that we do. Submitting is kind of the opposite of that, right? So this feels very unnatural to us. And yet here this verse is. And I don't know how you're reading this, but it doesn't word like a suggestion, right? He's not like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? Or, hey, sometimes maybe you should. No, he speaks this very clearly and very kind of bluntly, right? Like, hey, this is what you follow Jesus, submit to one another. Ooh, okay. So it's a command. So let's look at this. This word submit. It's a Greek word. Hupotasso is the Greek word that this word submit is. And so what this is, it's like a Greek military term that describes troops that are arranging in a military formation under the command of a leader. That's what it's saying. Like your troops are arranged under a leader. So it carries this idea of putting someone else up and pushing ourselves down. There's like a direction to it. Like you're elevating and then you're lowering yourself. That's the idea behind it. So he says, submit to one another. You're supposed to push others up and you're supposed to push yourself down. One another, all of them. Now, again, when we read this, you might go, okay, I see that that's there. There's lots of other verses though. Could we focus on those ones and maybe kind of I'm not saying we won't do this one, but can we emphasize other, you ever do that? I hear it, I'm not gonna argue with it because it's in the Bible and I believe it, and it's something that God wants me to do, but I'd rather focus on other ones. You know what I'm saying? And you might be tempted to do that with this. You might be tempted to say, maybe this is an isolated idea. But I wanna present to you the idea that this is not just a little sliver of Christianity, but this whole submit thing and putting others up and us down is central to our faith. It saturates the entire Bible all over the place. And I want to prove it to you. I just want to give you rapid fire examples here. So I'm just going to read a bunch of verses and you can tell me if you think this is an isolated idea or not. Philippians 2:3, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. 1 Corinthians 10:23 and 24. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. Don't be concerned for your own good, but for the good of others. Like how he captures our feel. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. He's like, sure, but put others first. 1 Corinthians 9:19, even though I'm a free man with no master, I have become a slave to all people to bring them to Christ. Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. Galatians 5:13, for you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use that freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. And then we'll end with this. This is Jesus speaking. Jesus says this, but among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must become your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else. So this idea is central to Christianity. And I love that Jesus said right here, but among you it will be different. He's acknowledging that what is proposed here is a completely different way of living, that it's very normal, it's very natural to put yourself first, but Jesus is saying, we're not doing that. We're gonna think of the world upside down. We're gonna put others first. We're gonna put others above ourselves, serve others, honor others, consider others as more important than ourselves. Whew. It's wild, it's radical, it's different. And I know as we talk about this, I can imagine some of you are like, it sounds risky, to put others first. It's totally different. I don't know. And it is, you're right, it's very risky. I know a guy who did this and he ended up crucified, right? You know him too? This is how Jesus lived, right? Jesus, the only guy who could have put himself first, who could have put himself above everyone, he put everyone above him. Jesus elevated the entire world, lowered himself to the point of going to the cross. And this is the guy that we say we're following, right? This is the guy who we're trying to live like, who put everyone else first. So I think it's kind of silly for us as Christians to follow Jesus, who gave up all of his rights and put everyone else first, for us to demand our rights and try to put ourselves first. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what Paul means, by the way, when he says, hey, we're going to submit to one another out of reverence for Jesus, because he's saying, because this is what Jesus did for us. So we're going to do it for others. Now, I want to jump back into Ephesians, but we got to do something first. Because we're going to look at the rest of it. Paul's going to describe the relationships you have under this heading of submit to one another. But before we do that, I need to address, I'm going to call it the millennial elephant in the room, okay? The elephant is a millennial, okay? Now, here's what I mean. There's something that, and if you're not a millennial, I'm not like not talking to you. The reason it's a millennial elephant is because we invented this, okay? It's ours. Our culture has adopted it. It was a good idea. But it's kind of for everyone in the room, but it's got a little bit of a millennial flavor to it. So here's what I mean. Here's the elephant in the room. When I say, hey, you're supposed to put others first, or if I would say it different and say like, hey, you're supposed to live a life of self-sacrifice, immediately every millennial in the room had a little sentence, a little voice in the back of their mind pop up and go, but what about self-care? Right? What about, you're talking about self-sacrifice, but what about self-care, right? Like that's the elephant. That's the elephant I want to talk about. The self-care elephant in the room. Because if pastor's talking about self-sacrifice, I need to know what he thinks about self-care. If we're going to talk about putting others first, I need to know, what about me though, right? That question kind of pops up for us. Like this little voice in the back of our minds right now. Self-care. I need to take care of self, protect my peace, guard my energy, set my boundaries, honor my capacity, listen to my body, stop people pleasing, say no without guilt, choose myself, remove toxic people, prioritize my mental health, live my truth, protect my vibes, stay hydrated, moisturize, get 8 hours of sleep, maybe 9, maybe 10. Take a mental health day, treat yourself, right? Cancel the plans, recover from canceling the plans, journal about why I made plans in the first place, put my oxygen mask on before putting yours on and maybe not even put yours on, right? Block anyone who causes emotional turbulence, light the candle, take the bath, get the weighted blanket, and whatever I do, avoid any human who mildly inconveniences me because self-care. Is that accurate? That is the millennial mantra there, right? So when I say, hey, I think Jesus is calling us to live a life of self-sacrifice, we immediately think, okay, but what about self-care? And I just want to say for the record, I don't think self-care is bad. I don't. You do need boundaries. You do. Lock it up. You need to take care of yourself. You do. You need to stop people pleasing. If that's something you're doing, I get it. But can we be real? I think what's happening is we're kind of overcorrecting. So if you don't know, here's where the self-care thing kind of came from. This is why I'm claiming it as a millennial. The generation before us that raised us, to not be named the boomers, they were the rub dirt on it generation, right? You got this, rub some dirt on it and keep going. So we, as millennials, were like, you know what? Okay, that's kind of unhealthy. So we are like, no, you actually want to be healthy, so we're going to do this self-care thing. But here's what happens. And anytime a generation tries to correct from one extreme, they tend to overcorrect. Do you follow what I'm saying here? So like that might not have been great, but I think what we've done is we've swung the pendulum so far that I think we've actually gone past self-care and we're going into self-indulgence. That we're way over here now. And I'm like, hey, I'm all about, I still say rub the dirt on it to my kids, but I think like if we were on a road trying to avoid 2 ditches as millennials, we're probably not running the risk of rub dirt on it. We're probably running the risk of overindulging, right? Self-care is slipping. So what I'm saying is if we're over here and this is the ditch, self-indulgence is the ditch, then we probably need to maybe shy a little bit away from some of this language that we're using. You know, if it drains me, I just shouldn't do it. Are you sure? Life is hard sometimes. I think you might have to do some things that drain you every once in a while. If it makes me uncomfortable, it must be harmful. No, that's not true. There's a lot of things that are uncomfortable that aren't gonna harm you. If it inconveniences me, then maybe it's unhealthy. Inconvenience is not unhealthy automatically. I just think, and again, you have to recognize nuance. I'm not trying to, if you're like, no, this is really important to me, and maybe you've come a long way, and I'm not trying to undo any progress you've made if you've really kind of moved away from the rub dirt on it thing. But we have to recognize nuance. I worry that little sentence that we say, I gotta protect my peace, I get it. I understand what you're saying. But if you use that as the only way you make decisions is I'm gonna protect my peace in every situation, I worry, because what happens when God calls you to a fight? It happens sometimes. Have you read some of the stuff that Jesus is gonna call us into in our lives? So if you were like, no, I'm going to avoid anything that disturbs my peace, then you're going to miss out on a lot of things that God's calling you to. Because following Jesus is uncomfortable sometimes. Following Jesus is inconvenient sometimes. Following Jesus drains you sometimes. So if you're only ever protecting your peace, you're going to miss out on a lot of pieces of the life that God is calling you to. So I guess what I'm saying is be very careful using self-care as an excuse to avoid working through things in your life, to avoid tough relational things. You're going to have to face some of it. You're going to have to push through some things. Don't use it as an excuse. I'm not saying we're getting rid of it. I'm not going back to dirt. Dirt's fine, but we're not going back there. But I think we need to be careful using the excuse to avoid anything uncomfortable. Okay. Millennial elephant done with. We dealt with it. You guys feel better? Not going to throw an avocado at me. I'm just kidding. Any millennial cliche I can think of. Okay. You ready? This is where it gets interesting. Okay, so that was the head, right? 21 was the heading. Submit to who? One another. That's what it said, right? You there, I there. We all read that. That's what Paul said. Submit to one another. That's the heading. Now what he's going to do is he's going to give you examples of how this works out in the different areas of your life. The heading was 21, and now he's going to go through, okay? Ready for 22? All right. You sure? 22. For wives, this means submit to your husbands. I love that some of you didn't see that coming. Yes. Oh, that's so good. I dropped my thing. I got you. Oh, this is the best. See, this is what people don't understand. I get to pastor at church for people who don't think church is for them. Some of you knew this. You knew this was coming the whole time. You're bracing yourself. But others were like, what? I feel betrayed right now. And here's the thing. The reason it was so important to set it up that way is because how weird would it have been if I would have led with this, right? The whole point that Paul's trying to make is that this is something we're all doing to each other. That this is a heading over all of Christian life is we're going to put others first and we're going to lower ourselves. And what's interesting about this verse specifically is starting here in this section makes no sense at all. Because when he says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ, he uses that word, hupotasso. In this verse, he doesn't even say the word. He says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ, for wives to your husbands. He doesn't even use the word. Again, kind of reinforcing this idea that he's saying it to all of us, and then he's trying to get you to see this is how it's going to work out in all of your relationships. So he starts with the wives, and he says, hey, submit to your husbands, and here's how it looks, unto the Lord. So your submitting looks like you would submit to Jesus. But he's not done, right? The verse before that was important, and the verse after that's important. Look what he says to husbands in verse 23. For husbands, this means love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave up his life for her. So what Paul is doing, you shouldn't take any of these verses by themselves. You're supposed to read this all together. And by the way, if you were going to apply one, you should apply the one to you. You should never be using a Bible verse to say it to someone else. Like that, it's not a weapon. It's supposed to be a self-evaluation thing. But take it all together. Look at what the picture Paul is painting is this idea that for a wife, she's going, okay, submit to one another. How does this work in my marriage? Oh, I'm going to submit to him like I would submit to Jesus. So I'm going to put him up here. And then the husband is supposed to go, hold up. You can't put me up here. I'm going to put you up here because Jesus put the church above himself. So I'm going to push you up. And then she's like, no. I'm going to push you. And there's supposed to be this competition of who can put the other one first. Do you see the direction this goes? If both are pushing each other, the relationship goes up. But we're all very familiar with the nightmare that is the opposite, right? That if you have two people who want to say, you know what, I'm kind of sick of this crap. What about me, right? I need to treat myself here in my marriage, and I'm going to put myself first. And what that means is you're going to be second. And then what's the reaction? The natural reaction, since putting myself first is natural, you're putting yourself first? Thanks, no. I'm going to put me first. And then, no, I'm going to put me first. Do you see the direction that goes? That this is the complete opposite of what you want. So what Paul is doing is painting this picture of an ideal marriage, where you have each one is trying to elevate the other one above them. I'm going to put you first. No, I'm going to put you first. And the whole thing goes up. Now, I know there's a whole bunch of what-abouts and what-ifs, but can we just appreciate the picture he's painting for what it is? That yes, there's some details to work out, and yes, we have some what-ifs that we have to work through, but he's painting a picture of the ideal, and this is right. This is what we want. This is what all of us want. You want to be in a relationship where the other person is trying to put you first and you're trying to put them first. That's what you want. It's beautiful. Now, we're going to come back to all of these in a minute. I just want to go through the relationships that he lays out here. So if we jump down to chapter 6, he speaks to another group, 6:1. Children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you and you will have a long life on this earth. And all the parents said, amen. I went to Christian elementary school. I think I had to memorize this in like kindergarten, which is a little abusive, but I did. I remember having to like say this in front of the class, and I like remember that turn with a promise. And but by the way, promise is spectacular, is it not? It says so you have a good long life. That somehow honoring your parents is attached to that. That's crazy. And by the way, if you say it in the reverse, it kind of sounds like a threat. If you don't listen to your parents, you'll have a short life. Like, I like that. Maybe it's just an observation. I don't know. But this idea, that's a powerful thing. That means that, hey, honoring your parents really, really matters. There's something that happens in the spiritual with that. Okay, so again, we're going to come back to all these. In verse 5, he jumps again. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with deep respect and fear. Serve them sincerely as you would serve Christ. And I know the slave thing's going to say, I already threw you off with the women got to be submitting thing. So here we go. We're talking about slaves. This is all controversial. The best modern equivalent for us when it comes to slaves is employees. And so you're like, amen, that's how I feel. But slavery back then, back in the ancient Near East, is not the same as American slavery that we would think of a couple hundred years ago. So the best equivalent for us is, hey, if you're under the employ of someone, they actually called them bond servants. There was a reason they were in slavery. And that word is just kind of an unfortunate thing. But for us, employees, okay? So if you're an employee, what does he say? Hey, serve your superior as you would serve Christ. So serve your boss, your supervisor, whoever it is, as if you're serving Jesus. That's the mindset you should have. And again, he doesn't leave that alone. In verse 9, he says this to masters. Treat your slaves in the same way. Don't threaten them. Remember, you both have the same master in heaven, for he has no favorites. So again, take master and put boss, supervisor, shift manager, whatever you are. If you're in authority, and look at what he says. It's kind of the same thing he did with husbands and wives. He said, hey, bosses, same to you. If you're an employee, you're supposed to view it as if you're working for God. But if you're a boss, you're supposed to view it as if Jesus is one of your employees. Treat them that way. So he's just trying to get, no matter who you're around, this whole idea of, hey, we're going to put others first. We're going to love others and have a self-sacrificing kind of love for everyone. So he rounded out almost all of your really important relationships. All right, so let's get practical. I want to back up. Husbands and wives. Relationships. Your closest one. I want to put some meat on the bones of this idea. And I just want to be specific for us. This isn't Paul being specific. This is me being specific for our circumstances here. I think one of the most powerful ways we can submit to each other, we can sacrificially love each other, is with our words. The book of Proverbs says that you have the power of life and death in your tongue. That the words you say can either bring life or they can bring death. So one of my favorite pieces of advice to give to any married couple, I just did a wedding yesterday, cute young couple, they're so awesome. God's got such big things for them. I love those weddings where like they're just starting off and I get to just try and shape the beginning of this thing. So what I would tell them is, hey, your words create. And what I mean is the words you say, they don't just describe your spouse, they actually help shape your spouse. Another way for me to say it is, your spouse is becoming who you tell them they are. And that is such a powerful thing, because when we get angry or frustrated, we can start throwing things out and you think you're being descriptive, but you're actually shaping them. So wives, when you call your husband, yeah, you're a loser, you're a butthead, or a butthole, whatever one you want to go with. You think you're describing, but you're actually creating. That he's gonna become the person you describe him being. And same thing with guys. Hey, you're just a nag, or you're just, that. You're not describing, you're creating. Your words are actually shaping your spouse. It's such a powerful concept. Such a powerful concept. Because in those moments where you're letting it fly, you're shooting missiles, it's like heavier than that. I know you're mad, I know you're frustrated, but man, you better, this idea causes, you better be real careful with your words. Because my dad always taught me, like, it's like a sculpture, and you got a chisel. You pop a chunk of marble off of a piece. It's real hard to get that thing back on there. You're gonna damage this thing. So listen, ladies, can I just share something kind of like from a guy's perspective? You need to know, like, for me, there is no one on this planet who can hype me up like my wife. When she says something to me, it carries enormous weight. I want to go fight a dragon in his lair. If she tells me I can, I'm like, I probably can. Like, I think this is good. Like, nobody can hype me up like her. And I need you to know, like, man, what if that's the mentality you had with your husband? I just want to speak life into him. Like, get after it, hype him up. Hercules, like, get him going. Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just did anybody get that reference? It's obscure movie reference there. And I know sometimes it's gonna feel disingenuous. Like, wait, I'm gonna say stuff about him that's like not true. Okay, not true yet, maybe. Wouldn't you rather speak a future truth over him? Make it a prophecy then, whatever. Speak a future truth over him. Put a crown on his head and watch him become a king. Don't be waiting. I'll be respectful to him when he's respectable. It'll never happen then. No, speak respectful words and watch him become respectable. Watch him. Same thing, guys, same thing. Our words carry so much weight with our wives. So love her, cherish her, date her, flirt with her, make her feel desired, make her feel chaste again. Get after it. Put a crown on her head and watch her become a queen. Don't do that thing, well, I'll love her when she's lovable. Shut up. It's never gonna happen. Again, because that's all that goes back to is this weird mentality. I'll do it when I'm only gonna do it when you, and you start pushing each other down. No, put her first. Put her first. Love her first. Love him first. Use your words. All right, so that's your spouses. Kids, honor your parents. On Thursday, it was so weird on Thursday. It was a little smaller crowd on Thursday, and there was 2 kids in the room. There was one sitting here, and my 9-year-old son was sitting back over here. So I'm like, listen up. But now it's you. Front and center. It's good. Now, before I even jump into that, hey, can we all acknowledge we're all kids in this room? We all have parents, either dead or alive. And I just want to say that I know for adults, when you get older, it can be hard to honor. Maybe you don't feel like your parents are honorable. Maybe they've done some horrible things, and I get it. One of the things that always has helped me with that, though, is this idea that you honor the position even if you can't honor the person. So find a way in your mind to find a way to give some kind of honor, because there was no exceptions, right, in that verse. It said, hey, to do it, so I'm gonna try and find a way to do it. And there's a whole lot of nuance into that, but I just wanna propose, find a way to give even just a little. Now, if you're a teenager, that doesn't apply to you. You need to honor them all the way. And I will say this, if you're a teen, I got at least one. Is there any others in here? All right, I got a couple. Good. Listen, I know it's very easy to think that your parents don't understand what you're going through. But we were teenagers at one point. We do understand what you're going through. We just have perspective now. So there's gonna be like a fuzzy 5 years where you think they're stupid, and then you are gonna come back around and think your parents are actually smart again. I think we're getting there. Yeah. So in the meantime, I don't think you can follow Jesus consistently and constantly be fighting with your parents. I don't think that, those two things don't go together very well. So be as respectful as you can be, even when it doesn't seem like they make sense to you. It costs you nothing to be respectful. Remember the promise, a good long life. That's an important one. All right, if you're an employee, I know your job is a grind sometimes, but this mindset, I gotta say, this mindset's transformational. He's saying, hey, work as if you're working for Jesus. So no, you're not, your boss might be all kinds of whatever, but you're working for Jesus. That's transformative. All of a sudden that changes not just what you do, but how you do it, right? What felt pointless before maybe now it's imbued with something if you're saying, no, my mentality is that I'm bringing glory to God. And I love that idea. There's a quote that's attributed to Martin Luther, but I guess it might not be him. Either way, it's a good quote. It says this: a Christian shoemaker does not honor God by putting a cross on a shoe. A Christian shoemaker honors God by making the best shoe he can. I love that. So you don't have to do something that's overtly Christian. No, work as if you're working for God. Do the best job that you can, and there's spiritual value in that. And that's the way you can submit to one another, honor people above you by having the mentality that you work for Jesus. And then, hey, if you're an employer, a boss, a supervisor, if you have people who work under you, use that power carefully, right? When Paul said that to masters, it was a radical idea. The whole message could have been to the people who are beneath, but Paul's like, hey, remember, if you're over somebody, you got somebody over you, right? That was kind of his message there. So treat them with dignity. And he also said, same to you, right? So if they're imagining that they're working for Jesus, you're supposed to imagine that Jesus is working for you. How would you treat Jesus if he was working for you? So one of the most practical things for me as I've gained more and more leadership is I need to realize that when I speak words to the people who work around me, that my words carry more weight than I think. If I say it at a level 3, it actually is heard as a level 7 sometimes. So I need to be real careful. When I walk into a room, the room tips a little bit sometimes. And if you're a boss, you need to remember that you throw your weight around. It's a lot of weight for people to deal with. So be careful with that. Treat them with dignity. Treat them the way you would treat Jesus if he was working for you. Does that make sense? So these are your relationships. Under the heading, submit to one another out of reverence for Jesus. Put others first. Love others better than you love yourself. Put them up there. And the motivation was that this is out of reverence for Jesus. This is how Jesus loved you. Jesus put you first, so now you're going to turn around and put others first. That's our motivation. And that's a pretty good one. That we know that Jesus has continually treated us better than we deserve. And isn't that the rub? We always want to treat people exactly how they deserve it, or maybe a little bit worse. But no, he's saying, Jesus treated you better than you deserve, so now you're not looking for deserve. You're going to love people, and the source of that love is what Jesus did for you, not what they did for you. That's a pretty powerful thing. Now, maybe you're sitting here and you haven't crossed the line of faith yet. Maybe you're not a Christian yet. I just want to say to you, man, remember the idea, what we believe here as Christians is we believe that Jesus loves us better than we deserve. So that's the thing that's being offered here. It's not that you got to work for it. No. You give Jesus your sin and he gives you forgiveness. That's not a fair trade. That's an amazingly unbalanced trade in your favor. You give him your shame and he'll give you a new identity. Not a fair trade. You give him your life that you can't seem to fix and he will give you a new one. That's the thing that Jesus did. That's why we're so obsessed with him, because we believe he can do that kind of a thing. And I believe you can step into that today. You can make a decision to give your life to him, give your sin to him, and you can start a new life and jump into this thing, this new way of living, this upside down world that we're invited to, where we're gonna put others first and we're gonna watch and see how it transforms our relationships. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right, why don't you stand and pray with me? Lord, I pray for the marriage in this room that's hurting, where it feels very risky to put the other one first right now. Lord, I pray that you would just be present. You would be present in that heart. I pray that you would bring healing to that marriage. Pray that you would bring that transforming power that is self-sacrificing love, that it would just invade all the cracks and crevices and bring that thing to life. That every little act of self-sacrifice would be like a seed on fertile soil, that it would grow. Lord, I pray for the kid who has a hard time honoring their parent in this room, Lord. Whether an adult, a teen, or a child, Lord, I pray that they would be able to honor the position even if the person isn't very honorable, and that they would do it because they love you. Lord, I pray for the employee who maybe struggles to find meaning and purpose, that they would have the mentality that they're working for you, and that would just infuse them with energy and passion to make a really good shoe and have that bring you glory. I pray for the bosses in the room to treat their employees like they would treat you. And remember that we have a master in heaven as well. And Lord, I pray for this church, that this kind of love, this submit to one another, put one another first, that would saturate this church, Lord, and that it would be magnetic, that people would see it and want to be a part of that. And that the never-ending fuel that would fuel that is your love for us. And we never forget it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.